All right. Fighting games are. What's the news this week? I've been so busy with like Fire Pro and stuff that I have not been paying attention to the news at all.
Well, let's see. There's a couple things. Fighting games are, for example, are teasing Mortal Kombat 12. NetherRealm released a video thanking people for 30 years, at the end of which Ed Boon is like, hey, there's actually more. There wasn't. He was lying. It's Ed Boon. But the at the end of the video,
Classic.
yeah. At the end of the video, they show an hourglass. The rest of the sands fall down from the top of the hourglass, and the last sand dissipates in the air, and that's the teaser for Mortal Kombat 12.
I mean, there's the thing of we know they aren't going to let Ed Boon do the complete roster reset he wants to. Because Ed Boon really just wants to make a lot of new characters, and everyone else is going to be like, we like a lot of these characters. Can they please not go? So, if they want to tease the idea of bringing up Chronico's Hourglass again, does that mean that they're not going to go through with it and that something's going to stop Liu from rebuilding his world? Because I didn't play through the Aftermath DLC, so I don't know if Shang Tsung like fucks up Liu's attempt at rebuilding the world.
No, the Aftermath DLC is Shang Tsung tries to fuck up Liu's attempt to rebuild the world, and then Liu appears behind him going, "I've actually read the manga," and then kills Shang, and that's the ending.
Yeah.
That's what I remember, at least. So,
okay.
You know, like it's one of those things where they technically threw the status quo into question, but at the same time, the status quo is God. So,
yeah.
The
I mean, it's just flatly impossible for
yeah.
I think it's just flatly impossible to make a Street Fighter 3 the new generation.
In the current climate, yes.
I mean, people shit on New Gen back then. It's something people need to always remember is that while the Daigo parry has retroactively changed the reputation of Street Fighter 3, at the time, Street Fighter 3 was thought of as garbage because where's Guile?
Yeah, but that was also the fan reaction. I'm not even talking about fan reaction. I'm talking about just the company reaction of companies will not take the risk anymore.
Yes. And companies will not take the risk because the fans don't want it.
Yes.
Really,
what? Okay, I don't know who owns the actual IP, but one of these years, someone needs to throw a bone to Ed and just have him make a spin-off of MK that works mostly the same or however the fuck he wants it to. Just call it Tattoo Assassins or whatever.
Yeah.
Let's cannibalize one of the MK clones' names. Let Ed do his thing, and then we can get normal MK. You know, we can get MK where Ed Boon is forced to make Mortal Kombat, and we can get fucking what's another one? I don't remember any of the MK clones. Whatever, Tattoo Assassins, where Ed Boon makes what he wants Mortal Kombat to be, but can't.
Yeah.
And a problem with that.
In an eternal cycle.
Yeah, just like Liu Kang. He hates Liu Kang because he sees himself in him.
Yeah.
One day, Ed Boon just woke up going, he must not win.
Yeah.
And
Liu Kang has spent the remaining time not winning.
Yep.
He got him.
But yeah, even the thing with my suggestion is that, like, once again, companies don't take chances. Even if you literally advertise it as, we just put another name of what Ed Boon wants to be Mortal Kombat, companies probably wouldn't fund it. Even though people might buy it. If you literally just advertise it as, we just gave Ed Boon the go-ahead to make the Mortal Kombat he wants, and just named it something else.
Meh. The I guess other question is with Mortal Kombat 12, the gameplay direction.
Yes.
Because Mortal Kombat 12, we don't know where it's going to go, but I think Mortal Kombat 11 had a very strong reaction of this whole slowed down footsie's perspective is not really working for this.
I mean, you'd think, but it's really up to Boone and his fight designer or whatever the actual like the name of the position is. Combat mechanic designer, probably. I don't know. Like it's up to
It is.
it's up to them to take any idea from what happened with MK11 and MKX and all of that. Like
It is,
obviously,
but
yeah. But
it did seem like it was a pretty strong reaction though.
there was a strong reaction, and Ed himself might actually care about that. Like Ed Boon seems like one of those developers who actually would listen to fair reaction despite the company.
Yeah.
But at the same time, just going by company stuff, can he justify the changes he makes to the game design to the company if MK11 still sold well?
Part of why MK11 sold well was, of course, DLCs, graphics, story mode.
Yeah, a lot of
And
which would remain. But it's one of those things where, like, once again, risks. Companies don't like risks.
No, they don't.
And like obviously, my ideal would be something good, something like a mix between 11 and 10, which is to say MK9. But we're not really getting back MK9 because that's not perfectly balanced as how things should be, and obviously that somehow makes it bad. Because truly, the best Mortal Kombat would be Kung Fu Man against Kung Fu Man in the training area.
Okay, now you've gone off on a tangent. I don't know where you're going.
I'm just making the usual joke of of trying to find perfect balance to the point where you just make default Mugen.
Oh, I think Mortal Kombat 11 already was trying that, and it didn't quite work.
I mean, it might have, but it still had like at least 12 too many characters to achieve perfect balance. There was still too much variance somehow.
Oh, I didn't say they achieved it, but the smaller the roster you go, the closer you can try.
Yeah.
I mean, MK11 wound up having more or less the same size roster as Mortal Kombat 10, didn't it?
I don't think so, but I'm not sure.
It kind of when I think of looking at the character select screen, I imagine them being the same size, but that feels so weird because, like, gameplay wise, the roster didn't feel as big, you know?
Yeah, like the characters felt so much less.
Yeah.
Which that's partially because the combination system is out of 11. And like
Yeah.
well, technically it's still in the game, but not really. It's not as set in stone as the combination system was in MKX. I, for one, am fine with the combination system being gone because I didn't like the cosmetics being tied to whatever version you're using. Which it's one of those things where like I understand the balance reasons for you need to be able to tell which version I'm using of this character. At the same time, a lot of these look dumb. And there were combinations that worked better for me that I just didn't use because I didn't like
The
how they
visuals.
looked.
You're talking about
Yeah.
the visuals.
Yeah.
Okay.
Like I prefer how shit was done once again in MK9. Like, since we played through the classic Mortal Kombat again recently, I gave it some thought to just be like, hey, what is the best Mortal Kombat in my idea? I reached I reached the consensus that it would probably be 9 because 9 has the most in common with UMK3 while also having more.
Yeah.
And so I'll keep pointing to 9 as hey, I want Mortal Kombat to be like this because I found this to be good. But
Yeah.
MK9, the characters had sizable movesets for the most part, and they had tools for the things that they were supposed to do. They didn't have very experimental bullshit, that's for sure, but they still felt like complete characters. Whereas a lot of times the combinations and the additional moves that you can choose in MK11 make it feel like you're not really playing a character, you're playing one third.
Yeah.
Like it's more so a problem. It's somehow more so a problem in MK11 than MK10. But depending on which character we're talking about, it might still be a problem with MK10. you know?
Yeah. I mean, part of Mortal Kombat's whole thing has been, at least since 9, crazy mix-ups, the strings that can go from low to overhead, the complete 50-50s, several characters just having outright unblockables was set up. And while Mortal Kombat 11, the whole idea was more footsies, smaller combos, it still was designed from the NetherRealm perspective of having the mix-ups be crazy.
Yeah.
And when you've got a game that is very low combo, but still very mix-up crazy, it can so often feel like that, especially because it becomes turn your pressure into getting another mix-up opportunity.
Yeah. So yeah, we don't know shit about Mortal Kombat 12. There's Sand. Rejoice.
Yeah, we don't know anything about it. I mean, well, correct me if I'm wrong. It was stated that they're not going to be doing the variation system again.
I hadn't heard about it, but if they aren't, then I'm glad.
What I had heard was they're not going to be doing the variation system again.
Nice.
Now, there has to be some kind of system in there because there is no way WWB, yeah. Uh-huh. There is no way WB is going to let them not have some kind of monetization system because that's WB's perspective. They want more monetization.
Yeah.
But then the question, I suppose, is my brain completely forgetting what I was going to say. The question, I suppose, is are they going to integrate it with the game? Or is it just going to be cosmetic? Is it just going to be some other, like, my faction, collect cards, and make
Yeah.
a army of Mortal Kombat
Sub-Zeros.
men?
Yeah. They should, okay. They make a new game mode. It's called Card Combat. You have a tab called My Collection with a K. And it's just fucking Hearthstone. But you have Scorpion cards.
That's brilliant. Where have you been hiding this idea?
Blizzard.
Holy shit. You must only have been able to pull it out now that they're leaking everyone ever.
Yes. Now my NDA is up.
Yeah.
But yeah, they can just like be like, hey, buy card packs for $5. I mean, it works for fucking FIFA. You know?
Yeah. And the great thing is you can then have the philosophy of that shit goes on in the corner. If you are someone who has a gambling addiction, you can go play that, and everyone else can play the real game.
Yeah. Which, like, because talking about monetization, I saw a Max Dude video But I didn't see the video. I saw the thumbnail of it. And the video was titled something like the MK12 script needs to be less grindy. And the thought hit me of Max. Have you ever thought about things like a corporation?
Yeah. Well, Max always will come at things from the perspective of, I want it to be less painful to get content by playing only online. Because Max, for his YouTube channel, always plays matches online. NetherRealm comes from the perspective of most casual players do not want to play online because they don't want to get their shit rocked.
Yeah, NetherRealm concentrate for that way, and then Warner is in the background going, buddy. So
Yes, that's definitely part of it. I mean, it wasn't a problem in Mortal Kombat 9 or 10X, but it was in Mortal Kombat 11. And Warner Brothers doesn't seem to have gotten particularly smarter in the meantime.
I mean, the part of that though, that thing as well is that like during MK9 and MK10, Warner Brothers was doing fine. Then, Shadow of Mordor. One was okay, but then I guess it underperformed. Then they started having monetary issues, so Shadow of War was full of microtransactions. And then suddenly, the next Mortal Kombat game also is full of microtransactions now that they're having monetary problems. And now that Discovery is in the driver's seat, I don't see them going like, hey, this random source of money, I turn it off.
So far, the Discovery strategy has been just getting rid of everybody. So maybe they're just going to cut. Maybe they're going to cut the studio in half, and Mortal Kombat 12 is going to be back in 2D again. They're going to motion capture devs, and they're just going to fucking get devs put in the game like they did back in the old Mortal Kombats, back in the Midway days.
Yeah. Noob side, what is in the game is literally just fucking a picture of Moon, but with the saturation set down.
Yeah. What was I going to say? The thing that for me is the big thing is, the thing is pretty well going to be a big thing for almost all fighting games going forward for the next few years, is the specter of Street Fighter 6 hangs over this.
Yes, and then like everything else, like I don't know if we've said this on this podcast, but it's one of those things where like it's unfortunate. Everyone will suffer for a bit. I hope Street Fighter 6 eats everyone's lunch, just to teach teach the industry a lesson.
I mean, generally speaking, it has historically been the case that when Street Fighter V is eating, everyone else tends to kind of go, I don't think it would be entirely like, oh, as long as Street Fighter's doing well, nobody else does well. I think that's just flatly a cartoon scenario.
Yeah.
That's not realistic.
Yeah, but when Street Fighter is doing well, everyone is doing worse. Well, no, everyone aside from Mortal Kombat is doing worse. Mortal Kombat, being the eternal second, is fine.
All of Tekken's most successful periods have been when Street Fighter was doing poorly.
Yes.
Which kind of calls into question Tekken 8, if Tekken 8 may be the first time that they actually are successful at the same time, because so far as I'm aware, people are reacting more or less fine to Tekken 8.
I don't know. I've seen a lot of pushback against some of the new anime fighter bullshit. Like, I mean, aside from you as well.
I was about to say, well, I don't count.
But at the same time, like, I also haven't been, looking at general response to Tekken 8, so maybe people are hyped. I don't know.
The question is, though, is that with NetherRealm, for instance, is NetherRealm going to be able to, like, I don't think it's really in question that Warner Brothers Discovery is going to want some heavy milking to go on here because, I mean, it's just kind of been their strategy.
Yeah.
And I mean, I guess they're welcome to do that strategy. But if they do that at the same time where Street Fighter 6 offers a much better game for cheaper, and the game doesn't feel like you're just working, then that could be pretty bad for NetherRealm, for
Yes.
Mortal Kombat. Though
Which
that's not to say that it wouldn't be impossible for them to pivot, which I think there's a distinct chance that depending on just how much of a monster success Street Fighter 6 ends up in sales, we may see a pivot.
possibly. Although, I just had a thought. There's a very good chance that if Street Fighter 6 is the monster success that we expect it to be, there's a very good chance that both Boon and Harada will go up to their superiors and go with a copy of a game from the 2000s and go, "See, I fucking told you." Because Boon tried first, I think, with the conquest mode, and then Harada tried with Devil Within to do what World Tour is doing right now.
Yeah, absolutely. Like when you look at World Tour looks 100% like it looks like both Conquest Mode and what was it in Tekken Force? There you go, Tekken Force fully realized.
Tekken Force was the 2D beat 'em up in Tekken 3.
Oh, it was 2D?
Yeah, a 2.5D.
Oh, okay.
Yeah, no, Devil Within. That was Tekken 5.
There you go. Yeah.
There was also Scenario Campaign, which was Tekken Force, but in 3D, but it still controlled like it was 2D.
Yeah.
It was better than you'd think, but it was still jank, as you'd imagine.
Yeah.
But yeah, so that's it for MK, I guess. Then
yeah, we'll have stuff to talk about probably soon. Probably next fighting games are.
Yeah. Then in the shorter news,
This
I guess.
may be one of those poorly timed fighting games are where like tomorrow Mortal Kombat 12 is revealed, you know?
Yeah. So yeah, then Capcom has revealed Kaz Monkeys is gone.
Capcom has revealed Kaz Monkeys are gone. What did you say?
Kaz Monkeys is gone.
Cam's Monkeys?
Kaz Monkeys. They stole them.
Oh, the nufts. The nufts.
The Koopy sandwiches.
They made it fucking canon that Ken lost a bunch of money on NFTs. Yes. You know, people haven't been as angry about that as I was expecting. I was actually kind of expecting a lot of people to be really upset about that.
I mean, I'm not angry. I'm disappointed in Ken. I'm disappointed that that's how he'd fall. At the same time, Ken doesn't seem like he's really plugged into shit.
Oh yeah, so like to me that makes perfect sense. Like Ken spends, like yeah, we always joke. You know, everybody always jokes. You know, Ken has a personal life, Ryu doesn't. Ken has a family, Ryu probably never will. But you know, just because he has a family doesn't still mean Ken still puts so much time into kung fu fighting that he probably actually doesn't know jack shit about business.
Yeah.
Like, one has to assume that he has some kind of situation going on, like how Bruce Wayne doesn't know anything about business, so he just lets Lucius Fox do all the business shit.
Possibly. Which I guess spoilers for the first issue of the Street Fighter 6 prequel comic. But the guy that seems to be handling that shit for Ken gets shot. So
now, why would he go and do that?
He was too busy being a good guy.
Yeah. He should have been evil, then he would have survived.
Yes. So yeah, that's pretty much it. I mean, the comic, if you want to talk about it, I don't know if you read it. I did. The comic does give some neat characterization to Luke. It makes him it makes him from just that fucking asshole you want to punch into the goofy asshole character that he's supposed to be. Like, it actually makes him sort of likable.
All right.
And they are setting up stuff with JP. They revealed his full name, which is Johann Petrovich, I think.
Oh. Well, that does make more sense than just calling him JP.
Yeah. And he is tied to this India-like country that you visit in World Tour called Nashal. But we don't know how. He seems like a prime minister. Just from the way he acts in this first issue.
Oh.
Like the place is a king, by the way. But he still seems like a prime minister. So yeah, they set stuff up, and there's gonna be like 4 issues, I think, of this overall before the game comes out, I assume. So should be fun. All right, then. Let's see. This is news that I don't think either of us really care about, but it's good news for the people who do. The ones are reached.
All right.
The ones are reached. Crowdfunded contents for Arcana Heart 3 Extend launch date, whatever. I don't know where. I don't know. I honestly don't know where this game's title ends. But anyway, yeah, Arcana Heart 3 Extend. The crowdfunded contents, which I assume means characters, are actually gonna be put into the game, which is nice because the goals were at least reached for them, but I guess they made enough money. So yeah, that's nice. Then,
Yeah.
uh, this is something that's is apparently has been a project for a while. I just noticed it now. But there is currently a Newgrounds fighting game being developed. As in a Newgrounds team fighting game.
This. What's the roster looking like?
I can actually show you, because that's the thing that we have a picture of.
Oh.
Pico is in it. Who'da thunked?
Naturally.
The art isn't completely finished. I mean, obviously it's in development. Who would have known? But yeah, it makes getting some of them out harder. They do have the guy who was the orientation lines for the face, but without a face. You're the guy with the gun.
Yeah.
I didn't see Jezza's character, whose name I'm forgetting. But yeah, I recognize some of these people. It's just I don't remember their names. Also, yeah, Castle Crashers and shit. I guess. I'll put it into the voice text.
All right.
There you go. There's the roster.
All right. I recognize some of these faces.
Yeah. I was like the two. I definitely recognize the guy in the second batch of 4, I guess, on the first title of the second batch of 4, but I can't tell you who it is.
Is that Henry Stickmin?
Possibly.
I always forget if Henry Stickmin debuted on Newgrounds before they made his own separate games, and then that naturally led to Amogus.
Yeah, it is. It seems to be from the comments. But yeah, it also seems like I'm assuming that only one of those or two at most for call it. I'm forgetting the term. Whatever. I think only one or two of those question marks are random buttons. So there might still be two characters that you unlock or whatever.
Could be that they're unlocked. Could be, since it's still in development, that they are characters that are still being made.
Yes. But yeah, so far this is the most that I've seen of this game.
Yeah.
And
Could be a neat indie fighting game.
yeah. Then
did you grow up with Newgrounds very much?
That's the funny thing. So technically yes, but not really. Like I didn't grow up with Newgrounds the site, but I grew up with the Newgrounds games being rehosted on other sites. so so technically yes.
Yeah, I grew up with it a little bit, but I didn't play the main Newgrounds stuff very much. At least going by this list.
Yeah.
So either which way, that's neat to see.
Yes.
Curious what the gameplay will look like when it's done.
Yeah.
All right.
Then this will be a long one because there might be a deeper discussion because of something related to this. But hey, Idol Showdown released, and not only did it release, but it launched with over 9,000 players.
Which is pretty good for an indie fighting game, no?
Yes. I mean, it's an indie fighting game that is free to play. It has rollback.
Yeah.
It has rollback. And it was made
Well,
by
the
like a
most
team of 7
significant
people.
Correct me if I'm wrong. It's about the chicks that do Let's Plays and they have the anime girl instead of their actual face, right?
Yes.
Okay, there you go. That is why it's got so many players.
Yep.
I don't get it, but I don't know if I'm even supposed to get it. Good for them, I suppose. I'm not even mildly interested.
But yeah, the reason that this might go into a deeper topic though is that someone who I guess is a fellow VTubers went through and fighting games, but went through a bunch of people, not necessarily VTubers, just playing the game, watching them playing the game, to see where the game has pitfalls, and just kind of compiled how that reflects on some of the problems of fighting games overall. And
so you watch the people that are in the game play the game, and then
no, that's the
consider
thing.
that.
That's the thing. Like not just the people who are in the game, but just random people playing the game who happen to be streaming it.
Yeah.
So like not just the people who are actual VTubers or whatever, but just random fucking Joe who doesn't play fighting games.
Okay.
And there's one that I want to take away, because like some of these are things where like I get it. this is a fixed problem in other games, but I get it. Like, for example, how the normal notation system for fighting games can be confusing to people who aren't coming from fighting games. So, like, when the game doesn't show that you need to press X, it shows that you need to press light. And people don't understand that light means X because that's your light attack, which,
Yeah.
you know, fair. Like, that's a problem that everyone will have at least once. But
Yeah.
you know, a lot of games have fixed this. Like KOF, I believe, has it set to default, so it shows console buttons instead of the universal notations and stuff
Yeah.
like that. I mean, if a fighting game has been made in the past 5 years, chances are there's at least a toggle to make it show the console buttons.
Yeah.
But yeah.
I have nothing to say about this.
I'm reading the parsing the part that I wanted to highlight just to see because you know it's a long-winded way to say something that not that complicated, so I'm trying to shorten it a bit.
Yeah.
But like for example, the obvious problem that people or that fighting games have an issue with. People the people they watched, almost every one of them started up the game, went through the tutorial, went through the tutorial, went, I'll figure it out, got online, immediately died online, and then just went into the single player content.
Yeah.
Which, yeah. And then
I find nothing about this surprising.
yes, I mean none of this is new information particularly. It's just, you know, it's rare that you see it compiled so like so openly in one place, I guess.
Yeah.
Also, some like smaller details, like how apparently the game has difficulty sliders or whatever the fuck. Like you know the shit that Strife has, where it's like this Soul is good at short range, but he's bad at long range.
Sure,
Before you
yeah.
select him, yeah. So according to this person, no one pays attention to those, regardless of experience.
I mean, we have Pink right here. Pink will never pay attention to tutorials. There are a lot of people who just straight up don't pay attention to tutorials.
Yes, true.
I mean, one thing that you will just never be able to really deal with in game design altogether is there's a lot of people who just straight up don't want to learn. They just want to immediately be good, or they just want to immediately press buttons. And for Pink's case in particular, admittedly, it's a little bit biased because we play games with Pink that Pink generally considers, I will not play this game on my own free time. I don't really care about this game. I'm just playing this game because it's something that Alex and Addie are into, and I'm playing it with them. So to be fair, not a lot of people have that same motivation to play a game that Pink does, of just, I am putting this in to record a video with my friends once, and then I will uninstall.
Yeah.
So to be fair, Pink has a little bit of a different fucked up motivation there. But on some level, there's also just the thing that you will never be able to deal with of people want to be immediately good at it. They don't want a tutorial. Even if they are, you know, accepting the fact that they'll suck at first, they don't want a tutorial because they don't want to be told how to play the game. They don't want to sit through and be told the basics, which so often, you know, tutorials do. And for a lot of people, they almost feel it's insulting to be told how to play the game. Okay, so people are yelling for me.
Ah.
There are different personality types for these sorts of things, these tutorial things, right?
Yeah.
Because, like, I, in every game, will play the tutorial unless I already know the game, obviously. And if it's a sequel to a game I've already played, there's a good chance I'll play the tutorial anyways, just because they added new mechanics. But I have that mentality of wanting to dissect the game mechanic before I interact with it, right?
Yeah.
Most people don't have that mentality. Most people who, especially the ones who need tutorials, have an anti-tutorial mentality.
Yeah, like
How often in
yeah.
how often in games do we remind Pink of basic game mechanics? And he's like, "What?"
I I mean, like my like I technically have an anti-tutorial mentality, but like it's also think of like if it's a separate option in the menu. If I feel like I don't understand what's going on, I'll revisit the tutorial later.
Yeah.
Otherwise, if your game has a tutorial that's baked in and I can skip it or whatever.
Well, that's a different issue. If you want to then just blame all tutorials altogether for having a forced tutorial, that's a different question.
No. I'm not talking about that. I'm just saying if your tutorial is baked in and I don't understand your game mechanics, I feel like your tutorial sucks.
Yeah. Inconceivable.
Like one of the like there's the tutorial problem is brought up by that post, and one of the replies is like, we need a compendium for fighting games. Okay, so person doesn't want to spend 5 minutes looking at Ryu walking forward and backward. Person will definitely open up the fucking book made of text that is just like, hey, footsies is a sweep.
Mm-hmm.
Like people don't like people are calling for better tutorials, and better tutorials in theory fix the problem, except for the part where people don't want to play tutorials. Which is why World Tour mode is great, because you wanna guess what World Tour is?
Yep.
Like the
A
game.
way to get casuals to actually learn the game without telling them that they're learning the game.
Yeah. And like World Tour actually has tutorials that are not like innately just, looking from the outside tutorials until you think about them. Because it's like, hey, do this side job for $5 so you can buy that shirt you wanted. And the side job is making pizzas. How do you make pizzas? Hadouken.
Mm-hmm.
That's
Exactly.
great. Like that shit works because that's a part of the game. Like that's this is an activity that I can partake in the game that isn't sterile. It's implemented into the game. It's implemented into the game world in a manner that actually makes sense for it to be there. And it is also teaching me how to play the game, in the shadows.
Yes.
Whereas things like, the Guilty Gear tutorial, like the Exo tutorial was the best for a long while, but the Exo tutorial is like good at visualizing what the fuck's up. Like it's good at being like, hey, like, it's good at its job of letting you know, hey, lows exist, hey, highs exist, hey, you can jump. But it's still a sterile sort of tutorial when it's just like, okay, so I need to jump over this because the game told me to.
It's still a volunteered explicit tutorial.
Yes. Like World Tour mode, honestly, is probably the best thing that Street Fighter 6 could have done. Because people will buy Street Fighter 6 for World Tour, and people will buy DLC for World Tour. Because guess what? World Tour, like, part of the reason that DLC characters are taking so long is because they have to be implemented into World Tour.
Yeah.
So, like, regardless of whether or not someone like me plays online or not, I can still support the game because I have a reason to. I have World Tour.
Yeah.
And then on the side, if I feel like it, I can even go online.
The thing that's great to think about is they're now not just having to make Akuma's moveset for Akuma. They now have to make Akuma's moveset where it can work on those weird stretchy mutants people are making.
Yeah.
I'll go ahead and suggest as an alternative. If you don't have the budget for all that, I mean, even if you're a little indie fighting game, Mortal Kombat 11, it was a very forced way that could make some people mad, but at the same time, it's better than just outright having it where you must complete the tutorial to hit start and start the game. But Mortal Kombat 11 locking extra player colors under the tutorial. You want to play as a blue Jade? You want to play as red Scorpion? Complete the fucking tutorial.
Yeah.
You can play the game without the tutorial, but you not as red Scorpion. Which is very forced, but as long as it's a tutorial that isn't insulting your intelligence or childish,
Yeah. Which that's also a thing that this post brought up of like the another problem that this Idol Showdown game seems to have is that they don't have the tutorial cut up into pieces of this is stuff that this is literally just how you move. This is how you and how to punch and shit. This is like basic specials and shit. This is combos. This is advanced combos or whatever. Instead of being cut up like that, the tutorial just goes from one end to the other without stopping. And
yeah,
that is a fault. Like the I wanna say that the basic movement tutorial is obsolete and worthless. I know it's wrong, but every time I see it, I get a bit angry. Regardless, it should be the one that you force everyone to do, even if it makes me angry.
yeah.
And then after that, be like, hey, we also have more advanced tutorials and just name them like special moves tutorial, basic combos tutorial, intermediate combos tutorial, advanced combos tutorial, and then just also a hyperlink to training mode. After that, and I think I think that might be about the best of both worlds. Cause like once again, I fucking hate the basic tutorial that they force you to do in SF6 2, when it's just like, all right, Luke, now walk forwards. Good boy, you made your first step.
I appreciate that World Tour recognizes you're going to be coming back again and again with different goofy characters. So Luke will be, hey, let's teach you how to fight. And your answer can be, I know more than you.
Yeah. I did that.
I did on return trips. The first time I let the tutorial rock.
Oh, I didn't. I watched a video of World Tour today, and that's how I saw the tutorial for World Tour. Because Luke is like, hey, you want me to show you how or show you around, how to walk and shit. I just went no, because 15 minutes before, the game forced me to learn how to walk forwards and backwards, because I wanted to play against the AI in exhibition.
Yeah.
And then I proceeded to vortex the fuck out of Luke in exhibition. But yeah. So yes, like Idol Showdown is having success. Good for them, genuinely.
Mm-hmm.
Who knows if
Another
this is
gateway game for a lot of people, probably.
yes. Who knows how long this will hold? At the same time, like it's one of those things where like if somehow this has a longer shelf life than Project L, I would laugh. But I kind of just want Riot as a brand to suffer.
I was about to say, on some level, it's just you'd like for the dumpster out behind your back, out behind the building, to be more successful than that game.
Yeah.
Yeah, there we go. With tutorials, a lot of the tutorial stuff and a lot of the help stuff, I think one thing you need to always keep in mind is we got a phrase over here in America. I don't know if you got it over there. You can lead a horse to water, but you can't make him drink.
Yeah.
I don't know why horses hate drinking. They just do. They're teetotalers, so I hear.
But it appears so. But yeah, there's also this one exchange on Steam that kind of summarizes the problems with with everything, honestly, when it comes to fighting games. Which is nerf Coco's Raptor grab. It charges into you, grabs you, and slashes you for massive damage. Someone replies, jump. They reply, I don't do aerial combat. Which, like, this is a bit that Pink would do. 100%.
Yeah. Pink would at least recognize he's being childish, but there's a lot of people who genuinely have that philosophy of, this is a mechanic I deliberately choose not to interact with in the game. And if there's anything that requires me to interact with that mechanic, I will just say the game is bad. Or I will say that the other player is bad for making me interact with it.
Yeah.
Throws are not a real part of fighting games, as we all know.
Yes, throws are not a real part of fighting games. Combos are a mistake. Rushdown is actually banned.
And
so zone,
people that have it set up where when you get a knockdown, you have to back away.
Yeah, and if you zone, I am actually shooting you IRL. Does that cover literally every playstyle? I guess not set play, but set play doesn't exist, so it's fine.
Well, it's like we will, sir. We will medium kick at each other until one of us runs out of health.
Yes. And if you get
the put in by the devs as a joke.
And if you do the last bit of chip damage, then obviously my button was faulty.
Yep. Fighting game discourse has gotten to the point for some people that they forget that for the majority of casual gamers, it is they still believe that fireballs and throws are both cheating.
Yeah. I mean, it's one of those things where, like, that sounds like a dumb argument to make. At the same time, have you played Street Fighter 2? Not even for fireballs, but throws definitely. Have you fucking played Street Fighter 2? Holy shit. It's one of those things where, like, in modern contexts, saying throws are cheap sounds dumb. Because throws have been heavily nerfed throughout the 20, 30 years that it has been.
Yeah.
But Street Fighter 2, throws were definitely fucking cheap. Like, if when you can do 75% with one throw, I think that we can call it cheap.
Yeah.
And a lot of people, I guess, for some reason, still figure, hey, Street Fighter 2 is still the newest Street Fighter game.
Yeah. I mean, the majority of people play one fighting game, and their views on fighting games never move past that fighting game.
I suppose so.
I think Street Fighter 2 fucked up a lot of people's views on throws, and Injustice fucked up a lot of people's views on zoning.
Yes.
Like, a lot of the common bad takes in fighting game fandom, casual fighting game fandom, just go back to NetherRealm. It's also, let's be real here, a lot of the people that think that every fighting game has the world's most terrifying offense and most terrifying mix-ups. Let's be real here. How much of that goes back to Mortal Kombat 3 or 9 or X? All games where almost every character in the game has very terrifying offense.
Yeah.
I mean, even in Injustice 1, once you get past the whole zoning thing, do you remember how Martian Manhunter could get full combo off of a low special or an overhead special, both
Yes.
of which were like instant and meterless.
Yes.
And since they're specials, he could cancel almost any move into them. So Martian Manhunter pretty well got 50/50s off of every single button for full combo.
Look, it just
Meterless.
works. It just works.
There's almost something beautiful about that.
Yeah. You know, when we talk about these design things, that I'm just reminded of the people who are like, you know, Eastern fighting games are worse designed than Western ones, and I just think of like classic Killer Instinct, and I think of this shit.
Oh, can we not turn this into a fucking East versus West thing?
I mean, there are bad games everywhere. Have you played Hokuto no Ken?
There are bad games everywhere, but can we not just turn this into a like the only good game to come out of the West was Skullgirls kind of thing? Because I know there's definitely lots of people out there who are of the opinion that Skullgirls is the only good Western fighting game.
I disagree with them too.
I was about to say, yeah, you just don't like any Western-made fighting games.
I mean, like, that's the thing. Like, I like
The moment a white man touches a game dev toolkit and he's like, "I'm gonna make a fighting game," it fire.
No, I like that. I like MK3 and I like MK9. It's just like, you know, when you talk about this shit in the competitive sense, I'm just like, wow, design.
Well, you gotta keep in mind, Injustice was pretty well NetherRealms. Mortal Kombat 9 was NetherRealm's first time to the dance. Injustice 1 was their second time.
True. But wasn't Injustice 2 just as bad?
Injustice 2 was a trash fire in more regards than 1.
Like, is Injustice just NetherRealms? Fuck it, we're not gonna design this series.
On some level, yes, I think so.
Okay.
Because let's be real here, Injustice is guaranteed to sell no matter what they do, because it's DC characters.
True.
Like Smash Brothers Brawl in its time was extremely controversial with the fighting game community because of a lot of fucked up mechanical choices like no running. But it ultimately didn't matter because it was Smash.
Yeah. But you know, like as I've said, like there are better games everywhere. Though I mean, like one of my favorite games is just strictly a bad game. Like I like Buster Cross, and that's it. That has Injustice design a lot of times. So you know,
I don't know what you mean.
characters can have very bad mix-ups and TODs, like immediate TODs, and stuff like that in Buster Cross.
Sounds fair.
Yeah. It's one of those things where, like, if you're playing someone who doesn't know how to exploit the game, or if the AI decides not to exploit the game mechanics, then you can have an actual like fun match in the game. Otherwise, it's just Hokuto no Ken basketball combos. So
I don't see the problem here.
exactly.
This is a good donut.
Nice. All right, on to topics. Here's a nebulous one because there's many ways to answer this. I think. In your opinion, what makes a roster from a fighting game good?
Well, there's several perspectives there. From a gameplay perspective, variety. Making sure that most of the characters have at the very least something fun they can do, even if it's not really particularly super balanced. Have either some degree of everyone is viable, or at the very least, if there's going to be some OP-ness, it needs to be in a not super obvious way. Because we've been playing Marvel 2 a lot with Pink. And out of the 4 gods, the only one that I would say is more or less still mega OP in the hands of our player range, which is, the middle to upper range of players. Like, Sentinel is the only one who is still really nuts.
Sentinel kills in everyone's heads.
Yeah. There's a reason why in Marvel 3, Sentinel was still God, and why Sentinel was easily the most played character online.
Yeah.
Storm, Magneto, Cable, what makes each strong is not something you can get just as soon as you figure out their special move inputs. Sentinel, on a certain level, it's, do I know how to do Sentinel Force? Do I know how to fly? Okay, there we go. I've got everything I need.
Yeah.
So, Sentinel aside, though, Marvel 2, what really makes the other 3 out of the 4 gods so great and so OP requires some degree of practice or being told what makes them so great by others. And even then, probably requiring a great degree of practice that a casual player is highly unlikely to run into.
Yeah.
What makes Cable mega OP?
Is instant startup beam super that you would like that I can tell you from experience. You would look at that as a casual and go, all right, I guess he has a gun.
Yeah, he has a gun in the air. Whoop-de-fucking do. But it's when somebody tells you it is a instant startup super that can effectively counter anything and make it where there are several situations where if you hit Cable, then Cable gets to do a super on you. Then you can see why Cable is so OP. But even if you're aware of why the Air Hyper Viper Beam is so good, which you and me both are, it's still not really super good for us just simply because neither of us have sat down and worked out, practiced for the hours you need. Well, not hours, excuse me, that's exaggerated. Neither of us have practiced for the dozens of hours you need to get down Tiger Need Air Hyper Viper.
Yeah.
So, from a gameplay perspective, I think that's all stuff. You need good variety of gameplay styles, and the OP-ness should not be immediately visible to casual players or even visible to casual players after quite some time. Hardcore players will do what they do. And on some level, you can really point to Marvel 2 as a great example of a roster then, and that there are certainly some characters in Marvel 2 that it's just like, wow, this character can't really do anything. Cough, cough, Iceman. But other than Iceman, so many of the characters in Marvel 2, it feels like, okay, this character's got stuff. I just need to play with them a bit more, which is a good feeling. And there's a tremendous variety in Marvel 2. Marvel 2 might be the most variety-heavy roster when looked at holistically from gameplay and visual perspectives. I'll throw in this one also. This is actually going to be a weird pick because neither of us are big fans of this series. But another fighting game series I think is a great example of big variable roster where no one immediately feels too OP, though certain characters are definitely a lot more oppressive than others. BlazBlue.
Yeah. I mean, BlazBlue, for all of its faults, BlazBlue is very experimental with its character design.
And it has lots of them.
Yes.
That has always been the advantage that BlazBlue has had over Guilty Gear. No Guilty Gear game has had as huge of a roster as Central Fiction does.
Yeah.
Now, do I like any of the characters of Blaze Blue as well as I like 3/4 of the cast of Guilty Gear? Fuck no. Like my favorite characters in Blaze Blue are like Hazuma and Tager. And I don't like Hazuma or Tager as much as I like Testament. And Testament's in the like lower half of Guilty Gear characters that I like.
I guess although there are some switches where, like, you know, if you were like, hey, you can change out the Blaze Blue and get a Guilty Gear character.
There are a few.
Yeah, because like, you know,
I'm gonna go ahead and tell you, Bedman's the first one gone for me.
I forgot Batman existed.
Yeah. Yeah.
Okay, I guess you're right.
Not gonna lie, Kum Hyun is next on the list.
Yeah, I liked Kum.
Yeah, Kum's an interesting twist on the Shoto formula. You're right.
Like, Kum was weird,
out of the
but
new
still.
character from Strive, who's the first to go?
Probably Happy Chaos.
Oh God. See, Happy Chaos, like, I want to get rid of Bedman because, like, I don't know who Bedman really is. I don't really care. His playstyle's weird in a way that doesn't seem fun. But, like, Happy Chaos, it's like, I'm getting rid of this guy because I just don't want to fucking play against him.
I mean, the thing with Batman is, as someone who actually tried to learn Batman once, and at least once, Batman is the very elusive set play Rushdown character.
Yeah. Oh, you don't need to say. You've just described every Guilty Gear character. What are you talking about?
I don't know. Most of them don't really do set play all that much, aside from like Venom.
Well, there's a great Leon. Oh, what's his name?
Messi, I think.
Yeah, Messi. There's a great Leon Massey video talking about character archetypes, is what it's about. And he says, I'm going to use Guilty Gear as an example because Guilty Gear has a great divide of character archetypes. You see, Soul Bad Guy is a somewhat neutral character, but mostly a rushdown character who uses knockdowns to get setups for good set play. Then Key is a character who's quite similar, but with increased zoning capabilities. He's better at footsies, who uses his footsies to get knockdowns for rushdown opportunities. And then there is Faust, a more kind of ranged-heavy character with some deliberately weird and confusing options, who tries to confuse the opponent so he can get a knockdown and then set up rushdown. And then... And how can we forget about Venom, who has a variety of ranged options using his pool balls to try and get a knockdown on the opponent so he can set up rushdown options. And what the conclusion he comes to is, while Guilty Gear has its own archetypes, there is also a broadly defining roster identity of everyone in this game wants hard knockdown into setups.
Yeah.
Whereas comparative to, let's say, every fighting game franchise on some level has a degree of roster identity. Where Street Fighter, for instance, there are characters in Street Fighter who want to get hard knockdowns into setups for, set play. But not Dalsim. If Dalsim gets a hard knockdown, Dalsim's just kind of like, what do I do with this?
Yeah. Run away.
I'm not sure. I can only think of one Dalsim move other than throw that gets a hard knockdown at all.
Crouching heavy punch.
Does that one get a hard knockdown? I was thinking of its slide.
It used to, I think. Once upon a time.
Okay, right. Well, in Street Fighter 2, yeah, I would believe that.
Actually, I think Street Fighter 2 was one of the games like before he had a knockdown. It got a knockdown in like maybe 3 games back in the 90s, and then they realized that it was a bad idea to give Dalsim a full screen hard knockdown, which is fair.
So then they gave it to Seth instead.
Yes. But it might be one of those things where it's a hard knockdown on counter. I forget. But yeah, either which way, like, me saying Batman is a set play rushdown character. I mean that he's really centered around like putting down his sigils, which kind of work like the traps the testament sets down, but you trigger them instead of the opponent. You can also just fucking teleport if memory serves.
Yes.
So your game plan is just like I'm gonna do this one move. I'm gonna record this one move going from this sigil, and then I'm gonna go to the other side of the guy and JoJo stand rush him.
Yes.
But
Which, yeah, he's a character who wants a hard knockdown so he can set his sigils. Sigils, there you go.
Yeah.
Which, yeah, there you go. I definitely think that speaking of, roster-wide identities, that could be another part of a good roster that makes a roster feel like it's not just here's the same archetypes that have been around since Street Fighter 2, you know.
Yeah.
The other things that would make a good roster, I mean, there's the visual perspective, which to a certain degree is, you know, of course, what's the word? Subjective. There you go. On a certain level is subjective, but you know, you still want to have a unique visual identity that sets you apart from other fighting games, and you want the characters in the cast to have a wide selection of visual styles, or excuse me, visual aesthetics, so that different players can come in and have a character that fits their preferred aesthetic and style. And inevitably, you and I both have certain aesthetics we tend to go for in fighting games. We see a guy, we immediately are like, "Oh, that's my dude."
Yeah.
And so is Pink. Pink likes hot chicks.
Pink likes hot chicks, fat guys, and old men. Those are his types.
Yes. I like big muscle men. I like super villains. And let's see, what's my other? I'm also a big fan. I also often am a fan of the guys who are just kind of too cool for this, like Slayer.
Yeah.
Your aesthetic. You very much like what's the word for Akuma? Like Akuma is like the corruption, right?
Yeah, I guess so. Akuma is very much just like what if Ryu, but Ryu, what evil? Before evil Ryu, finally enough, but you know.
Yeah, like you have a thing for characters who look like they were probably relatively normal at some point, but the big evil entered them. Because just to go back to BlazBlue, because I've got it on my mind apparently. One of the characters that immediately spoke to you in BlazBlue was, what's the name of the evil Hakumen?
Oh blimey. I want to call him Gilgamesh, but I don't think that's it.
No. He's a Japanese Izanami?
No, Izanami is a different one.
Yeah, Izanami is the evil form of Tsubaki, right? Or what was that her name? I don't remember. We're not good at knowing BlazBlue.
Yeah, I'm checking it, but yeah, like at the same time though, I also play who?
Her name might have been Tsubasa.
Oh no, Tsubaki Aioi.
Oh, okay.
Susanoo,
right.
But yeah, like
there we go.
But yeah, like I also play characters like Jubei though.
Yeah, that's another. That's another one. Furries.
I guess. I mean, the thing is that there's not enough furries in fighting games to go around to really be honest.
No, it's not really a common character archetype. There's not a whole lot of animal fighters either.
Yeah.
Come to think of it, though, two of the best examples, Darkstalkers. You got Talbane for your furries, and you got Sasquatch for your animal fighters.
Yeah.
Man, it sucks that the time we played Darkstalkers that Pink took Sasquatch earlier, so I didn't get to.
Sasquatch was literally his
Sasquatch,
first
my
pick.
boy. Yeah, That always winds up being the issue when we play a fighting game for the first time is, who gets the first pick? Who gets to play this certain character that multiple people like?
Yeah.
Because there are what are some good examples of some fighting game characters that you and I are both big fans of? So whenever we play a fighting game for the first time, it's always like, we're both big on Iori, aren't we?
I mean, I like Iori more than Kyo, but at the same time, I somehow have a better Kyo as long as he has Bodega. So
Well, the funny thing is, like, Kyo versus Iori may be one of the few examples in fighting games where there's an evil equivalent of a character. And it's the good one that's the Rushdown character, and the evil one that's more so the kind of neutral-based character, the fundamentals-based character.
yeah.
Because Kyo doesn't have a projectile, Iori does.
I remember when Kyo used to have a projectile, and then he just went, no, fuck that shit, I'm just gonna punch a guy.
Yeah. Did you know fireballs are for pussies?
Yeah.
Come here and fight me, nerd.
But yeah, we're both fans of Rugal, but different versions of him.
Yeah. Well, I think everybody's a fan of CVS2 Rugal.
Probably.
And how could you not be with that tux, right?
Yeah.
Aren't there some characters we fight over? Not fight over. Aren't there some characters that we share in Marvel?
I don't know. Which one? That depends. In Marvel 2, not really, because I have like a team of nearly 6 characters, and I can just make a team around whatever. Actually, it might even be 6, because like the characters I play in Marvel 2 are Akuma, Gambit, Captain Commando, Strider, Hayato. Is that it? That might be it. Okay, that's 5. That's really 2 teams. In Marvel 3, I'm not worse off for characters.
Yeah, Marvel 3 having a smaller roster.
In Marvel 3 is just Akuma, Strider. Whenever I actually feel like remembering how to play Strider, Rocket, and Amaterasu.
Yeah.
Which, like, Amaterasu, I play entirely because Amaterasu has geese parries. And it's funny.
Yeah, it is pretty great that the dog can parry you. Okay, here's another perspective. From a story perspective, what makes a great fighting game roster?
I mean, from a story perspective, obviously, whatever serves the story the most. So, like, whoever ties into the main plot line is on the base roster, and then if you know, if you add in DLC characters, then they just get given either their own little escapades on the side, or they get injected to be on the outside somehow.
Yeah. We can throw in a quick lesson from both Tekken and Mortal Kombat. From a story perspective, you probably should not have where it's only 5 characters on the roster matter to the story, and the rest are either jobbers or comedy goopers.
Yeah.
Because odds are, if you play Tekken, like Mortal Kombat, it can be fairly bad, but it can vary depending on the game. If you are a Baraka or Reptile fan, well, even Baraka now gets some stuff with some Mortal Kombat.
If your name is
you're
Eddie
a
the Hero,
Reptile or
then you
fan,
shouldn't play Mortal Kombat.
Yeah.
Circa 2011 to 2019.
If you're a fan of those characters and you want to see them do good things in the story, then you are going to be disappointed. And with Tekken, though, it's like particularly Oh no, there is only like the player base for 5 characters that gets anything.
Yeah.
Do either of us really main any significant? I guess I play Heihachi a fair bit.
I mean,
But
I mean Lee, and Lee technically is important to the story right now, but Lee will not be important to the story after this, and he wasn't really important before this, so.
yeah, you did at least have Akuma.
I mean, I did at least have Akuma, but somehow I doubt that Akuma will return.
You know, and yeah, he's probably not going to be the main character of Tekken 8.
At the same time, if Harada reveals Akuma for Tekken 8, I will have to buy it.
Yeah, it's obligatory.
Yeah.
I'm now just imagining a stupid scenario where you're obligated to buy any game that has Akuma. And it's like they announce Akuma for some porn game. And you just have, like, you reach into a wallet with tears in your eyes. Why must you do this to me?
Yeah. I'm just trying to, like, I'm imagining the advertisements, and it's the old SNK, the CVS Chaos art of Akuma, with big red letters. Try not to come.
Yeah.
Like, let me see if I can find the art I'm thinking of exactly. But it's it's this picture of Shinakuma that was drawn by SNK. And it just looks so fucking goofy. Okay, I can't find that art separately. But here the one that's on the one that's on the right.
All my foot's asleep.
But yeah,
Yeah.
that image with the big red letters. Try not to come.
Good God. Okay, I don't know how, but this reminded me of something
What?
that I thought I should mention to you. Okay, you know how the last time we played Marvel 2?
Yeah.
The you asked, is this the Sakura that has the Shigoku Satsu, right?
Yeah.
And I said no, that I think that was another game. So I was wrong. Marvel 2 Sakura is the one with the Hakuma bullshit, but it's a super she has. She has an install super where she becomes Dark Sakura and then plays like Akuma.
Ah.
Including getting the Shingoku Satsu.
Nice. That also had the Shangoku Satsuida game. I don't remember which one.
That Marvel 2 might be the game where Dan has the Raging Demon as well.
Yeah.
A version of Marvel 2 where everyone has a Raging Demon.
Yes.
Give Roll a fucking Raging Demon.
That or imagine a crossover game where all of the characters have to have a raging demon or something similar.
I mean, if you're just looking for a game that has everyone who has ever done a Raging Demon, then you're just asking for Akuma versus Kim. Which does sound like you.
Yeah. I mean, Rugal would also be there because Rugal also has the Raging Demon. So.
Yeah. Yeah, uh-huh.
But yeah. To go back to the topic of rosters and them being good. I mean, there's just really, we can talk about it objectively or we can talk about it subjectively. You really you did a good job talking about the objective parts. So I guess I'll tackle the subjective one, which is really just uh I had the exact wording in my head, and it's gone. It's really
I'll buy you time. Subjectively, I want grapplers.
oh, there we
Street
go.
Fighter 4 roster good. Get in the ring and throw.
I found it. So yeah, the the thing that makes a good roster at the end of the day is personal appeal. Do I care about the people who are on this roster? Yes or no? that decides whether or not I think a roster is good. Like, objectively speaking, variety.
You want there
Yeah.
to be some degree of story. So fighting games, they're very story light if they even have a story at all, such as KI, generally do not appeal.
Yes. And like objectively speaking, yes, variety is important and stuff like that. And those are the things that devs should actually tackle, because those are the things that are constant for the most part. But as a consumer, whether or not the roster is actually balanced, well or whatever, doesn't bother me as much as whether or not I like any of the people that are on the roster.
I think for a certain degree of casual play, like it helps. Balance is not so much a problem for us because we are a group of friends who, if one guy is in particular being dickish and playing one particular character who is so oppressively strong that it so often makes the other players feel like they don't get to play at all, then generally we can say, dude, can you just switch to another fucking character, or can you stop doing that? And similarly, you play a lot of single player, and the AI, generally speaking, is not too exploitative. Though I guess we'll see with the Street Fighter 6 AI.
I mean, that also depends, because I watched videos of the Tekken arcade ladders, and apparently the two Tekkens that I put the most time into are also the ones with the hardest AI.
Well, there's a difference between the AI being good versus the AI recognizing that a character is OP and exploiting their best tools.
That's true.
But nonetheless, for us, balance does not really matter so much because we know each other and we will not abuse each other. However, if you are somebody who likes to play with strangers a lot, then roster balance can matter a lot. Because, for instance, there's really no reason to pop in that one power. Like, you can open up Fightcade and play that one notorious Power Rangers game that has Lord Ooze. And there's no real reason to start the game, because if you're picking anyone except Lord Ooze, then you just get shit on by Lord Ooze. And the Lord Ooze mirror match is not that interesting.
Yeah.
So you and me and Pink could have fun with that game because we know not to just, like, we would pick Lord Ooze once because it's funny that he's so OP, and then never again. Because we know he gets rid of the fun between groups, between people. He is just too much, press one button and win. But if you are if you are an asshole and you go online and you just want to collect fucking wins, then you'll just keep picking Lord Ooze, and similar, which means there's no reason for anybody else to play that game unless they're just going to pick Lord Ooze themselves.
I mean, that is true, but at the same time, I am making the assumption that people are generally playing the newer games, which aren't balanced so quite shittily.
Yeah, that's
like
true.
like when we can modern balance, things are fine enough usually that they are either okay, or if they're not, then they're patched in like a week, and if it or a month, I
But this
guess.
character give me loss, and therefore OP, break game, dead game. I'm
True.
going to go play this game instead because this game is better. I am hoping the devs see this on Twitter and it makes them mad.
1,070 hours online.
Yeah.
But yeah. Like, when balance isn't really an issue because we're past the point of having to worry about balance being stuck a certain way. On like, we only have to worry about balance being stuck a certain way once the developers announce that balance is gonna be stuck a certain way. So
yeah. For instance, when Injustice 2 is done, and then they find out afterwards, oh, fucking, how am I forgetting his name?
Captain Cold.
Captain Cold. There you go. I almost called him Captain Freeze.
Yeah, Mr. Cold.
Dr. Cold. Yeah, after the final update, it's like, oh, Captain Cold, this character we thought was Garbo, is actually like an extraordinarily strong keep away character. Oh.
Yeah, Injustice.
Yeah.
But yeah, like when you don't have to worry about balance so much, then generally personal appeal of the cast is what decides whether the roster is quote unquote good or not. Like, I would, if you asked me if I like the roster for Street Fighter 6, I would tell you no, because it doesn't have Akuma. Does that mean the roster is bad? Not really. I just don't really care for anyone on the roster, but and I'll still buy it. Because the game seems good. But
I guess
yeah.
part of
Yeah.
I guess we're also going to be left wondering with Street Fighter 6 how many of our boys are going to get put in the future.
Yeah.
Street Fighter 6 does look like it's going to have a pretty slow DLC cycle, given the announcements that they're going to be releasing 4 characters over like the next 2 years.
Yeah.
But if each of those characters has the sheer quantity of bullshit that the on-disc roster has, I'm not complaining.
Yeah.
Like, yeah, it's going to take half a year for us to get Akuma, but Akuma's going to be the size of fucking 3 Street Fighter characters. Street Fighter 5 characters, excuse me. 3 Street Fighter 5 characters.
Like, once again, it's just a thing of like my problem isn't even not being able to play Akuma, yeah?
I just had a stupid idea.
What?
Akuma in Street Fighter 6 gets 8-way air fireballs.
Oh, no.
And 8-way Shurasenku in the air.
Akuma has also been renamed to Magneto.
Yeah. What if Akuma has a Hadouken? He introduces a new Hadouken that just reaches out and grabs you and pulls him to you.
Yeah, even if you jump up above him.
Yeah, it tracks. Of course. Well, why wouldn't it track? Akuma's dash is now also full screen. It's the damnedest thing.
Yeah. Like, at which point do we just literally just say, all right, actually, fuck it, it's just your Akuma.
Akuma, come to think of it, Akuma and Magneto do share a super.
Which
that
one?
little ground burst super. They both have a ground burst super, a big ground burst super.
I see. But yeah, like, because I keep joking about rare Akuma and fucking Akuma getting Shagaku Satsune and then just teleports to you. That actually is in the game, in the launch game.
Yeah, 100%.
JP's super teleports you right next to you so he can hit the grab. So
like
rare Akuma is a possibility somehow.
Any idea we had of a possibility of like, well, they won't make Akuma that crazy. Then JP's moveset got revealed. And I was just like, what the fuck?
Like, I just wish. I don't need to actually play Akuma yet. I can wait for the year. I just wish that they would be like, all right, we started working on him. Here's literally a stick figure animation of his moveset. That's all I need. This is what we have an idea. Some of these may get cut, and then he somehow comes up with more moves.
Yeah. He has something on every input.
Yeah.
Akuma is a fucking in-game world tour character.
Yeah. Akuma is like the 100% completion for World Tour. Once you do the 100 completion, he appears in the world. You have to track him down, and when you fight him, it's fucking Shin Akuma.
Yeah. He's even worse than his Tekken 7 fight.
Yeah, like people say that fight was bad. You ain't seen nothing yet. Like okay, no, not even Shin Akuma. Genuinely just fucking rare Akuma. He doesn't show you can through the ground, full screen. Fuck you. That's about.
He shurikens into the sky, it keeps going, and he wraps back around to underground.
Yeah, that's what rare Akuma does.
Jesus Christ.
Yeah. He has a Tatsumaki that goes through the air. So like he does the Tatsumaki on the ground, and then he goes up at an angle. So it's kind of like his hard Tatsumaki in Street Fighter 5, where he keeps going. And he does it like he does like 3 laps.
Good fucking lord.
He gets you remember his EX fireball from in SF5, his EX air fireball.
Yeah.
Yeah, all of the Zakuhanos are that.
Well, why wouldn't they be?
And then fucking his supers are the Shoryuken that wraps around, but it's a full screen. He keeps going until he reaches full screen. His he has an air fireball super where he keeps throwing fireballs, but they're not coming from his head. The entire screen is filled with fireballs that just come from off screen.
Yeah.
And then he also has a Shagoku. Yeah.
Almost calling it an airstrike.
Yeah. I think he has a full screen Kongo Kokuretsu-san. Which it is scary, as you'd imagine. And then also, like I keep saying, a Shangoku Satsu that teleports him next to you, so you literally cannot block it in any way, shape, or form.
Oh yeah.
Unless I guess you hard read it. Oh, by the way, the Shangoku Satsu does 100% regardless of health. Fuck you.
Yeah. This is the kind of problem that requires an Omega solution.
Yeah. But yeah, that's the rare Akuma moveset. So just make that the final boss of World Tour.
And the crazy thing is, by the time you end World Tour, your character is probably going to be similarly nuts.
Yeah.
Now, one thing I have to wonder about World Tour is how many people are going to spend World Tour making like the other Capcom characters or the 800 characters they released on Capcom Fighting Network, right?
Yeah.
Because some people are like, "Oh, hey, it's Carlos Miyamoto from Final Fight. Remember him?"
No.
Well, Wooly did.
They made a big deal about Carlos Miyamoto, and I had to watch like 4 videos before I understood who Carlos Miyamoto is. And I played Final Fight. But yeah, they did say that they're gonna have a lot of Capcom characters in the game. The Capcom will by default have NPCs that are just other Capcom characters. And you also have to keep in mind, Street Fighter is in the same universe as Mega Man. Allegedly.
Are you gonna fight Dr. Wily's grandpa?
There's a chance.
Dr. Wally's?
Yeah.
But who will stop Dr. Wally?
Bad box art Mega Man. He's back.
No, he isn't. Don't even joke about it.
Is it like Satan? You see too much he actually appears?
Let's not find out.
Uh, so yeah, I guess that's the roster discussion.
Yeah.
Then, if you had to make a fighting game Mount Rushmore, which 4 games would you put there?
Street Fighter, Mortal Kombat, Tekken, Guilty Gear.
I'm assuming we're talking specific games instead of just series.
Oh. In terms of specific games, what are the greatest fighting games of all time? Well, I was thinking like the most influential series. Because, but in terms of like the
I mean,
best
if you
game,
want to if you want to talk about the most influential series, then KOF would go before Guilty Gear.
I don't know, because Guilty Gear was so influential on anime fighters. Like, there's definitely an argument to be had there, but I guess even then, you could also argue that before Tekken, there was Virtua Fighter.
Yes.
But as individual games go, that's a different question. I almost feel like I haven't played any given fighting game enough with other people to really give a solid guess at it. If I had to make my subjective, like an objective Mount Rushmore, I couldn't make. If you're asking me to make a subjective Mount Rushmore,
I mean,
uh,
this doesn't strike me as a topic where you can answer objectively.
I mean, fighting games are a genre that, if you want to try and judge it objectively, it runs so much into the problem of just what other players are you playing it against.
Yeah.
But subjectively, well, part of the of course issue is that there's always ongoing instances of us playing games that are newer to us, and so we're still in the honeymoon phase for. But I suppose for me, the Mount Rushmore would be uh Guilty Gear XX. Uh, I almost want to answer Marvel 2, but I won't because we haven't put that much time in with it, really. There's also a question of there's a lot of fighting games I put a lot of time into 5 years ago or 6 years ago that I'd come back to now and I'm not so impressed with. I put a shitload of time into Mortal Kombat X 6 or 7 years ago. When I come back now, I still think it's a neat game, but I also think it's Jane.
Yeah.
Tekken Tag 2, I put a lot of time into 6 or 7 years ago and I loved it. But at the same time, I've just generally kind of fallen out of love with Tekken as a series altogether.
Yeah.
So I guess for me, Guilty Gear X2, CVS2. Fuck it. I'm going to throw Marvel 2 up there. Why the hell not? And, huh. Fuck it. KI. Sure. KI 2013.
Yeah. Well, as for mine, CVS2 is a given, I think.
Yeah.
Like, you can't not have CVS2. It feels.
Yeah. Yeah.
Then, let's see. I'd probably put up Tekken 5. was like the sole 3D one. Because out of all of the 3D games that I've played, Tekken 5 is the one that, like, despite its jank, is the one that I enjoyed the most consistently.
Yeah.
Like, it's very fucking old though. And that comes with baggage. Now let's see. I'm sure 5 Special is a game that I find myself coming back to every time I enjoy it.
Yeah.
And for the last one, this is a problem. Wow, do I really not think highly of any games aside from those 3?
You know, this is always the issue that gets run into is like, Addy, do you like video games or do you just play them?
I mean, I guess it's also a thing of like, I like a lot of games, but when we're talking, do I think that a lot of them are like head and shoulders above the rest? Generally, no. And like technically, I have a lot of choices here that I could make, but I also just don't overall agree with them. Like pretty much any game from Street Fighter. 2, I could put there because 2 was the thing that they introduced with the fighting games, but at the same time, 2 is fucking old and jank, and I just don't enjoy playing it anymore. 3, I just flat out don't like as much as other people do. And Alpha I liked less once I revisited it later in life. So and 4 and 5 are just nothing good or nothing in consideration at all. Fuck it, I'm gonna go out on a limb and say for the possibility of a good future, Street Fighter 6.
There's a distinct possibility, but I am shocked you did not answer. Your final answer was not Guilty Gear Xrd.
Like I view XX and Xrd to be roughly the same quality in my eyes. The like they have different strengths and weaknesses to the other.
Yeah.
But generally I see them as the same quality wise, and so like I didn't want to split one position between 2 games.
Yeah.
But yeah, looking at topics, we have no other topics. So I guess
Let's play some Street Fighter 6 demo then.
yes, fighting games were.
Demo. Fighting games were.